Imagine you're 11 years old. It's the middle of the school day when you pop to the loo, only to discover that your pants are full of blood. You have no clue what to do and too embarrassed to ask for help. You return to the classroom and sit there, bleeding in shame. This was my first period. A few months later, we had our first and only primary school lesson about periods. The girls were taken out of the classroom, we were given a brief biological explanation, shown a pad and tampon, and sent on our way. At the time that I started menstruating, we didn't even have sanitary bins in the girls' toilets. So the school, the teachers, and ultimately the students who were navigating their changing bodies were totally unprepared. So something is going wrong here. Now, you might assume that we're learning this information at home, that parents are having these conversations with their children. But research shows that's not always the case. In fact, 1 in 4 girls feel unprepared for their periods, and 1 in 7 have no idea what's happening to them. I was lucky enough to have support at home. However, a year after starting my periods, I lost my mum to cancer. And so my 2 younger sisters missed out on that support. And as teenage girls, we were pretty embarrassed about the subject, so we didn't really talk about it. I only started learning about periods a few years ago, when I was on a journey to living more sustainably. To my horror, I discovered that a typical sanitary pad contains up to 90% plastic. And in the UK, every year, we generate over 200,000 tonnes of menstrual waste. Worse still, we flush 2 billion period products down our loos, blocking the sewers and polluting our environment. I was shocked that nobody had told me these things and that there were more sustainable alternatives. So when it came to my master's research project a couple of years ago, I thought I'd look into awareness around plastic-free periods to see what other people's experiences had been. But as I started having conversations with people, I realised that the topic needed to be taken right back down to basics. We needed to look at education. Now, we all know that education has the power to create opportunities. That's not a revelation. But what opportunities could period education create? Well, firstly, we could smash that taboo. If we introduce the topic at a young age, then we'd normalise it. There'd be no more code words, no more, "Psst, the painters are in," or hiding tampons up our sleeves, like we're smuggling something illegal. Secondly, we could then open up the conversation to other important topics. Things like contraception, infertility, health conditions, and even the menopause. And as we start doing that, then we help people to create more informed choices about their bodies, whether that's choosing the right period product or a much bigger decision around their reproductive health. And finally, we could help create more equal opportunities. For example, if we have more awareness of what periods can be like, then we might have more supportive workplaces, especially if we include those who don't menstruate in the conversation. We might help young people to stay in school, instead of millions missing out and falling behind every year because of their periods. We might also start tackling period poverty, which affects at least 1 in 10 people in this country. So essentially what I'm saying is, period education has the power to help us create a society in which no one is held back simply because they bleed. But where could we get this education? Well, schools could be the ideal place, but they're not the only place. And we know that governments are pretty slow to enact any sort of change. We're not going to get a curriculum update overnight. That being said, there is one really simple thing that all of us can do to make a difference, and that is to talk. Reflecting on my own experiences, I wonder how things might have been different if I'd had better education. Perhaps I wouldn't have sat there that day, bleeding in shame. Perhaps my sisters and I would have been able to talk more openly and support each other better. Perhaps it's time for everyone to learn about periods. Thank you.